Have you ever wondered how far a man could go to taste freedom? Picture this: Yoshi Shiratori. A man whose resolve was as unyielding as the steel bars he found himself behind. A man who, despite all odds, managed to escape prison not once, not twice, but 4 times. Born in the early part of the 20th century, Yoshi's life was anything but ordinary. His childhood was marked by poverty and hardship, leading him down a path that eventually saw him accused of theft and murder. The year was 1933, and Yoshi found himself confined within the formidable walls of Aomori prison. Aomori was no ordinary lockup. It was a place designed to break the spirit of even the most hardened criminal. But Yoshi was not ordinary. He was a man with an extraordinary spirit, a spirit that refused to be broken, a spirit that yearned for freedom. The confines of his cell were not just physical. They were a symbol of the societal chains that had bound him since birth, chains of poverty, of injustice, of a system designed to keep him confined. But Yoshi was not one to accept his fate lying down. He was a fighter, a survivor, a man whose spirit could not be tamed. In the darkness of his cell, Yoshi began to plot. Every creak of the prison doors, every clang of the guards' keys, every whisper among his fellow inmates, all were pieces of a puzzle that Yoshi was determined to solve. His goal, freedom; his method, escape. Yoshi's initial imprisonment was not for a lack of trying. He had tried and failed to escape multiple times, but each failure only strengthened his resolve. He knew that freedom was not just a dream, but a possibility that he was willing to risk everything for. And so, with the passing of time, Yoshi's plans took shape. His determination, coupled with his cunning and resourcefulness, would soon see defy the odds in a way that no one could have predicted. But for Yoshi Shiratori, the confines of Aomori prison were merely a challenge to overcome. Don't forget to join us on this fascinating journey by subscribing to the Best Ever channel. If you enjoyed this video, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Yoshi Shiratori wasn't a man to accept his fate easily. Born to the cold confines of Aomori prison, Yoshi was not one to cower in the face of adversity. He was a man of action, a man of determination, and above all, a man of extraordinary cunning. After 3 long years of incarceration, Yoshi hatched a plan. His weapon of choice? A short wire extracted from a wooden bathing bucket. It might not sound like much, but in the hands of Yoshi Shiratori, it was the key to his freedom. With meticulous precision, he manipulated this simple wire into a makeshift lockpick, a small but powerful testament to human ingenuity triumphing over the iron restrictions of the Japanese government. But freedom, however sweet, was short-lived. A mere 3 days after his daring escape, Yoshi was once again ensnared by the long arm of the law. His charges piled up, from theft to escaping from prison, and the court's judgment was harsh. Yoshi Shiratori was sentenced to life imprisonment. The iron bars of his cell were meant to be a constant, unforgiving reminder of his fate. But life imprisonment was just another term for Yoshi Shiratori, a term that he refused to accept, a term that he would challenge time and again. The walls of his prison cell were not barriers, but the starting line of his next escape. And as we'll see, this was just the beginning of Yoshi Shiratori's legendary exploits. The man, the myth, the master escapist was just getting started. A key to prison was believed to be escape-proof, but Yoshi Shiratori was about to challenge that notion. The prison was notorious for its smooth cell walls, designed to deter any attempt at climbing. But these walls were not an obstacle for Yoshi, they were a challenge. His cell was a cube of despair, but within the heart of Yoshi Shiratori, it was the arena of a battle for freedom. The smooth walls and the narrow ventilation opening at the top were considered an insurmountable barrier by most, but not for Yoshi. With determination and a will stronger than the iron bars that held him, he began his second daring escape. The night was his ally, the darkness his cloak. He climbed the smooth walls of his cell, inch by inch, his fingertips grasping for the smallest of holds. It was a painstaking task, one that required patience and resilience. But Yoshi was not lacking in either. He reached the ventilation opening, and with a final heave of effort, he was through. The impossible had been achieved. Yoshi Shiratori had escaped Akita prison. Unfortunately, his freedom was short-lived. Exhausted and with nowhere else to go, Yoshi sought refuge with a kind-hearted police officer he had met during his time at Aomori prison. But the officer, bound by his duty to the law, turned Yoshi in. Betrayed and defeated, Yoshi was once again captured and imprisoned. His second escape had ended in failure, his trust in a supposed friend rewarded with betrayal. But if anyone thought this would break Yoshi Shiratori's spirit, they were gravely mistaken. The man had escaped from 2 high-security prisons, outsmarted the Japanese government, and challenged the limits of human determination. He was not one to be easily defeated. Yet again, Yoshi Shiratori found himself behind bars, but not for long. Yoshi Shiratori was a man who refused to be caged. His third escape was as ingenious as it was unexpected. He was in Sapporo prison, a place that believed it could contain his relentless spirit. But he had a secret weapon, something the guards never suspected: miso soup. The salty soup was a staple in his diet, but for Yoshi, it was more than just a meal. He discovered that the soup's acidity could rust and weaken the metal of his handcuffs. Over time, he patiently used the soup to erode his restraints until one day, they simply fell apart. Once again, he slipped out of the prison, leaving the authorities baffled and embarrassed. His fourth escape was from Abashiri prison, a place infamous for its harsh conditions and high security. But Yoshi was undeterred. He spent 17 long months digging a tunnel with a metal dish, 17 months of painstaking effort under the cover of darkness, and when the time was right, he crawled through the narrow, claustrophobic tunnel to emerge into the night, a free man once more. But freedom, as he had come to understand it, was a fleeting thing. The law caught up with him once again, and he found himself back behind bars. This time, however, something had changed in Yoshi. Perhaps it was the weariness of a life spent running, or maybe he had finally found some semblance of peace. But in 1948, Yoshi Shiratori walked into a police station and surrendered himself to the authorities. In prison, he spent the rest of his days, but he was a changed man. He became a model prisoner, earned the respect of his fellow inmates and the prison staff, and was eventually paroled in 1961. He lived out the rest of his days in relative peace, working as a laborer and even lecturing about his experiences. Yoshi Shiratori was finally free, but not in the way he had always dreamed. Yoshi Shiratori's story is one of determination and an unyielding spirit. This man, who escaped the clutches of incarceration not once, not twice, but 4 times, left a mark on history that cannot be erased. His tale is one of human resilience and the unquenchable thirst for freedom. Yoshi's escapes weren't just about the act of breaking free. They were a testament to his resourcefulness, his cunning, and his indomitable spirit. He didn't just escape from prison. He escaped from the confines of what was thought possible. He turned the impossible into the possible, time and again, in a way that baffled and frustrated those who sought to contain him. His story resonates beyond the bars and walls of the prisons he escaped from. It echoes in the hearts of those who yearn for freedom in all its forms. It serves as a reminder that no matter how dire the circumstances, the human spirit is capable of extraordinary feats when driven by the desire for freedom. But perhaps the most remarkable part of Yoshi's story is the life he led after his final escape. Instead of continuing a life on the run, Yoshi chose to surrender himself to the authorities. He lived the rest of his days in peace, having proven to himself and the world that he could not be contained. He had tasted true freedom and, in doing so, found a peace within himself that no prison could ever take away. His legacy is not one of a hardened criminal, but of a man who refused to be bound by the chains of his circumstances. He is a testament to the power of the human spirit, the strength of determination, and the boundless desire for freedom. He may have broken the law, but in doing so, he shattered the mental barriers that limit human potential. Yoshi Shiratori, a man who escaped prison 4 times, will forever be remembered as a symbol of the relentless pursuit of freedom.